Hey, alright guys, it's time for game number 3 here between Acer.MMA and Acer.Bly. So, without further ado, I'm just going to introduce our players spawning in the top left position from Team Acer. It is MMA. And spawning in the bottom right position as the red Zerg player, it is Acer.Bly. If you tuned in for the live cast, then you know pretty well that I had myself muted the entire game. So I'm doing a bit of a recast here. Just to let you guys see, this game was pretty good. Don't want anyone to miss out on it. So without further ado, MMA and Bly. Both players very strong. We saw MMA go for the 2 racks to start off game number 1. And then in game number 2, Bly was just able to pull it back really well. Scores currently 1-1. I know I don't have my starboard set up on this, but the map is going to be GSL Icarus. And if you guys aren't familiar with this map, it is a GSL map, of course, by nature of the name, but it is a very interesting map in that we have 6 mineral patches in the natural. Now keep in mind the natural is free. It's a tucked in pocket expansion, but there are 6 patches, 2 of which are gold, so it has fewer minerals than a regular second base, but you can mine some of them a little bit faster. In case you guys don't know, regular bases do have 8 mineral patches, so that's one very important thing to consider. The other thing to look at as well is that the Vespine Geyser is actually a rich one in the natural. There's only 1 geyser, so for the cost of taking 1 gas, you can technically take what's almost about the same as having 2 whole geysers. So this is a very interesting map, and one of the more interesting features about it is that the third base is very hard to take. As a Zerg player, moving across down this ramp up this next one it's a pretty wide distance to protect with queens early on, especially considering that drops can come from behind your siege tank fire, as well as there being an entrance in the front as well as the side. So there's definitely a lot of options for harassment on this map, and I have to say I actually really like this map just because of the variety of game it gives us, but it does introduce a rather large number of Zerg 2-base timings, so that's something we're going to have to keep into consideration as we move into this game. Now MMA has gone with the command center first build, into barracks, into gas, so he's pretty much looking to go for Hellions after an expansion. We could see him possibly go for a fast third, depending on whether or not he takes a second gas. We're going to have to see, though. And in the meantime, we have Bly going for a 15 hatch into spawning pool gas, so Bly is looking to be a little bit possibly aggressive here, and like I said, it's definitely a 2-base map for Zerg. The third base you can usually only take after you go for some pressure, or if you tech up to something like Mutalisks or Infestors first that can allow you to hold early timing pushes from Terran players. So right now we're not seeing anything really unusual based on that evaluation of the map. Of course, Terran players aren't as affected by distance in maps, and when it comes to setting up bases, we have planetary fortresses as well as siege tanks and cover a wide array of areas, at least at one time, right? So we're going to actually have Bly open up with a Roach Warren, so this is a pretty interesting decision from Bly. Like I said, 2-base pushes are pretty common, but the Roach Warren seems a bit early. He's actually getting up before he saturates his natural expansion. He could just be looking to maybe pump out drones and then dump all of his gas into roaches, but his money's going to be a teeny bit low if he continues to actually make any drones. So I'm interested to see how many roaches Bly's going to make. MMA at the same time, he's getting his SCVs together, he's getting that factory up, and still no second gas, so it looks like we're going to see a fast third command center out of MMA. Zerglings moving up. He's going to scout out MMA's base. Okay, there's a reactor building. You have your neutral supply depot as well as 2 other supply depots from MMA. He's going to start working on these back rocks. They're a little bit vulnerable, the rocks, just because there's not really much MMA can do to protect these. The Marines actually can barely not hit across the long side, but we have roaches coming out for Bly. He's chosen to go for about 5-6 roaches. This is a bit of a tiny scary push. It's nothing extreme yet, but MMA doesn't actually have too much to deal with this. He's about to move this factory over. He's going to be able to tag lab on the barracks, but he's gone for this 3rd command center, so he's really cut down on his ability to actually get production out early on in this game. Now we have reactor Hellions being produced by MMA as a response to this. The response is opening, so he's going to throw in some bunkers. He's kind of seen, okay, he scouted this with an SCV that actually went right down the center, so he knows the roaches are coming. And I have to say, this was like actually a little bit scary for MMA. He only is going to have 2 Hellions. He has a Marauder on the way now, but he's in a really scary position. Roaches are coming up. They're going to target fire down this reactor. It looks like they're going to try to get the barracks, the bunker first. So this is definitely looking like a little bit of trouble for MMA. He doesn't have too much to hold this. Hellion's not the greatest units versus Roaches. However, the first Marauder is about to come out. We have a bunker that will complete. Now, the Roaches are going to be able to kill this reactor, so that's a pretty big score there. The Hellion production, of course, is now going to be cut completely in half. MMA still has his third orbital command, though, so it's going to come down to how many SCVs Bly is able to kill, whether or not Bly can get into any more production, take out this tech lab. We have Concussive Shell actually about to finish, which will help with kiting the Roaches. So MMA now throwing up 2 additional supply depots, so he's really setting himself up here. And now we have, he's just going to send his Hellions out across the field, so he actually can't really fight the Roaches too well with them, so he's instead going to try to kill some drones. And Bly's going to move into the natural. There's only one SCV here. The command center is here. He should lift this off. We're going to be damaged, but now we have... Now the Hellions are going to be moving in towards the main base of Bly, so he's going to try to duck straight under into the natural expansion first. We have the drone in a little bit of danger. He's getting a good position around the mineral line, actually killing a pretty good number of drones. The drones are going to be pulled to try to fight these Hellions. He's going to get some great amounts of damage led on these. Really good play by MMA, and at the same time, he just lifted his command center. Bly can't push up into these bunkers. There's Marauders with SCVs pulled, and Bly's going to take a third hatchery behind this, but it's not going to be any kind of advantageous position to defend it. MMA, of course, can't push out just yet. He does not have his stim pack upgrade started. He was in a little bit of a sour place right there. Still no stim or combat shield even started research, so he will not be able to push out reasonably soon. Hellion is going to go out. Has he scouted that third base? No. So, MMA, not 100% aware of everything that's going on in this game. Needs to be careful. The Roach Force is, of course, going to be retreating. This Hellion may end up getting caught. It's on the ramp. Sees this Zergling. But Bly knows, okay, there's no third base. He might try to tag this Hellion by bringing him over with the Roaches. Hellion will run away, though. And MMA now getting that +1 attack. We have an infestation pit for Bly, though, so he is looking to go possibly into a little bit straight hive tech, or just wants to go for maybe some infestor play, possibly infestor burrow. And we actually have burrow now on the production tab for Bly, so this is exactly what it's starting to look like. MMA is going to get starport up, some additional supply depots. No reactor just yet on this factory, and no stim or combat shield still. So this is actually looking a bit grim. Getting into a fight without that, the longer this game goes on, is actually going to end up favoring Bly, of course. Stim takes a very long time to research, so the fact that it hasn't been researched yet is really kind of crazy. And pathogen glands has started now. We have burrow about halfway done. Roach speed is on the way, so we could have a bit of a roach infestor play out of Bly. He could be possibly expecting mech. I don't see any reason why he would, though. The Roaches are possibly just for defense. He actually hasn't seen much of the production available for MMA, so he might think that this is what's going to come out. Possibly that the Marauders that were made earlier were purely for defense, but nothing crazy just yet. Infestors are on the way. Evolution Chamber, really late upgrades. We have +1 armor just starting at 11 minutes, as well as +1 attack. If that's even going to be starting immediately, it seems pretty late. MMA's +1 is already done. He's getting combat shield, which is interesting considering he still doesn't have stim pack. That's really crazy. I guess MMA must be feeling very confident with himself right now. Moving out towards the tower, has those Hellions in position to deal some damage, and actually burrows that Roach. Clever little play there. Not bad. He's actually going to save that Roach. That's pretty cool. Medevac loads up. I wonder if the Roach actually saw that. How much vision does it have? It totally saw that Medevac load up. It's nice. Hellion's going to run over and scout this third base. Okay, well, that's kind of to be expected. But we have a lot of Zerglings being made. 1-1, of course, as we stated before. Armory is complete. We have 2 engineering bays. MMA needs to start that +2 attack upgrade. He's a little bit low on the gas. This base, you know, it's a slightly less than having 2 gases. But MMA's got good map control, scouting everything out. So he's got his third base situated now, taking the gas there as well. And now we see him starting to get siege mode, so getting tanks production rolling, and that's pretty big for the macro parts later. We have these Marines that have been dropped in the back area of Bly's main base, but he doesn't actually have stim, so running in and dealing a lot of damage won't be as easy to do as he might have been in other scenarios. We have now 2 infestors going burrowed into the main base of MMA. Looks like they're going to duck around. They're queued. They're queued to just go into this natural expansion, so that's really interesting. One of them is actually queued to go into the main, so these infestors are going to split up pretty nicely. Oh, this Roach at the tower. It actually can't block the tower from being taken, but it's just there. MMA going for a drop on the bottom side. He actually still has a Marine poised out in the center here. We have +2 attack on the way. +2 armor is now starting for Bly, so he's going to move up in his upgrades as well, getting a macro hatchery in his main base. So he's going to be able to get a lot more units, basically. will help with remaxing later on and really getting up a good number of units to fight with. MMA's going to move forward now with these Marines. Stimpack has just started upgrading at the 13-minute mark, so this is very, very scary. The Zergling speed, though, is not yet done, so it's a bit of an awkward situation to be in, really. It's like, oh, well, both players kind of caught each other with their pants down, so I'm really curious as to how this is going to pan out for him, though. He's moving this medevac in towards the third base. He's going to start to drop, but is he going to be able to actually take all of this out? I'm not so sure. No, he's going to have to pull back. And MMA, he's going to try these medevacs again. He's actually going to get an Overlord, so really nice catch there. I like that +2 attack will be completed before stem. Not something that you see every day. And the medevac's going to retreat. So looking back at what MMA has, he has a bunch of Marines, a bunch of siege tanks. He's really gotten his macro rolling for this series so far, so I'm really glad to see this. He's really starting to churn along, and this drop's going to get cleaned up in the bottom center. Medevac still has some units left in it. Could go to this bottom left base that Bly is building, but Hive and the Baneling Nest are finally on the way. Bly doesn't really have any big AoE. Once the medevac count becomes reasonable, of course, fungal growth is not anywhere near as effective versus Marines. So with that Hive coming, he's going to be able to move into Broodlords, Ultralisks. There's no Spire on the field, so to speak, so it looks like he might be trying to just go for Ultralisk play unless he starts to Spire very soon, but Bly's moving up with his Marine Marauder. His stem is still about a minute away. He's coming up here, and he's basically going to rely on the siege tank cover fire to move up and try to push this ramp. There we go, the tanks are sieging in the bottom line. However, those infestors have unleashed their infested Terrans, killing SCVs. This command center may also go down. Bly's been unleashing a lot of pain. In the meantime, MMA has landed a command center in the top right, so he's going to still have some economy rolling. And now, moving up, these Marines are stepping forward. These Roaches are definitely getting a bit of a run for his money with the fungal growth at the ramp, but stem is now complete, so MMA can finally go and bring the pain here with these Marines, but a lot of fungals are just holding them in place. He needs to move some of the tanks up further to zone the infestors out. Zerglings are going to push in, but MMA's going to hold for now. He's about 40 supply leads, so he's doing pretty well for himself. But a lot of Marines getting caught by these fungal growths, actually immediately putting Bly ahead very quickly. These Marines took quite a bit of damage. Additional siege tanks coming up with this Marauder. Not bad. Drop in the bottom left. He's not yet engaged with it yet. And MMA is just pushing in now to this third base. Bly is in a bit of a sticky situation. He needs to be able to continue his economic growth so that he can actually get these high-tech units out. But he doesn't have too much money. The Marines pushing in. He's simming forward. There's nothing that Bly can do to really stop him. He needs to get some more powerful units out. The Ultralisk Cavern is on the way, but it's going to be so far. How many is he going to be able to afford? He has barely any resources. The tanks blowing through this hatchery. The Marines are just... I mean, there's not anywhere near enough units to actually shut down this much bio. MMA is just, he's really just pulverizing this right now, and with this economic advantage that he has, he lost the natural command center, sure, but he managed to save his main base, and he still has that fourth in the top right, so he's doing just fine. He's up now 50 supply. He's moving in towards that, towards the main base of Bly, and I don't feel there's too much he can do. He's actually clipping a lot of these Overlords. A lot of free kills here, and all he has to do is keep stepping these tanks forward, and he should be able to kill them. Drop goes into the main base of her MMA too, as well as the natural at the same time, killing so many drones. We have 54 workers killed so far by MMA, almost about to hit 60. This is ridiculous. Drop moving back into the main base again, while the main army pushes the front of Bly. Is he going to be able to put up enough units to actually deal with this? We had a little bit of a counterattack, the more infested Terrans, but not quite enough to seal the deal here. And MMA is coming closer to Bly's base. He has a ton of Marines, and you know what? There's simply no AoE. The infestors are not quite enough to break through this. There are enough medevacs here to help with that. The Marines would need to be horribly clumped, and he's just going to blow away all these Roaches. He's up 100 supply now, and he's going to start pushing into Bly's main. He's running some Zerglings in towards the third base of MMA, but it looks like, I don't know if it's going to be enough. He's going to pull the SCVs out of there. Not really a big deal. He has a ton of macro orbital commands, and he still has his planetary mining with a bunch of fresh mineral patches in the bottom center. So in the bottom left, he's actually going to take out this hatchery as well now, and it looks like he's basically got a chokehold of death on Bly. He's scanning, says, okay, do you actually have anything I should worry about? No. You have an Ultralisk Cavern, sure. You actually can't afford to make a single Ultralisk right now, so this is very scary. He's just going to get infestors instead. Tanks siege up. Great fungal on these Marines, but it's not going to be enough to kill him. He's just going to pull away. And there are Zerglings burrowed here, but MMA has Marines here. And there's the GG from Acer.Bly. MMA will take game number 3 here.